Hi again, students. Hi again, students. So I finished drawing all 4 of my panels, and now what I need to do is add some color, and I'm also going to be using a fine tip Sharpie and an extra fine tip Sharpie to do some outlining. And I'm going to use pencil crayons and markers, and you can use whatever colorful materials that you have available to add some color to your comic. Okay, so some tips that I have for coloring are when using pencil crayons. One thing that I've noticed a lot with teaching art is that a lot of times we'll have like amazing drawings, and then when we go to color it, we end up with coloring lines like this, where there's big spaces in between the pencil crayon strokes, and there's lots of white spaces left. And when we do these kinds of really energetic strokes, which can sometimes look really lovely in like a background or something like that, but in a smaller detailed area, they might look kind of unfinished. So I have some tips for pencil crayons. So here is my tip. So when coloring with pencil crayons, I like to hold, instead of holding my pencil crayon down at the bottom, I hold it a little bit in the middle, and I also am holding it horizontal. Instead of right on its tippy toes, I'm holding it a little bit horizontal. And then I'm not pressing super hard. So I know like a lot of times when you have to color a lot with pencil crayons, it starts to hurt your hand. But if you do it this way, it won't hurt your hand. And I actually feel like it goes a little bit faster. So instead of doing really, really dark coloring and pressing really, really, really hard, we're just gonna press light, and then we're gonna layer a couple of light pressing layers on top until it's the darkness that we want it to be. And another thing that I like to do when I'm doing comic books, or when I'm doing this type of drawing that's sort of cartoony, is I like to use a marker to outline that area. So if you do have a thinner marker, I can use the marker to outline. Sometimes it's just a little bit more interesting than having the black Sharpie for the outline. Another thing you can do is outline with your pencil crayon with just pressing a little bit harder. That's up to you. Okay, I also have a tip for if you're going to use a Sharpie marker to outline something. One thing that, again, that students have said is that when they're outlining something, sometimes it's really hard to keep the marker going exactly on top of the pencil line that they drew. It's just quite difficult. So one tip that I have for drawing lines that are kind of straight is I try to breathe out before I draw the line. So, and then I'm nice and calm, and then I go ahead and draw it. And then it worked for that one. But sometimes maybe it might not work. So I might have kind of made a little mistake where it went a little bit off, or maybe I made it a little bit wobbly like that. And that's definitely fine. You can look at it and decide, oh, I like it, it's good, I'm gonna leave it. Or maybe if you don't like it, if you look at it and say, oh, darn it, that was a mistake, I wish I could fix that. One thing that I do with my Sharpie often is I will just make the line thicker. So I will just go over the line again. Instead of having it be a thin line, it is now a thick line. So we are going to color our comics using any color materials that we like and outline them. If you do have access to some type of pen or marker, you can outline them with pencil crayons as well. Okay, I'm going to get started on that. Hi, I'm back, and I have finished coloring my Super Sloth comic. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so we want to make sure when we're coloring that we included a background for each of our boxes. It doesn't need to be a complicated background, but some sort of coloring in the background. I wanted to do like a sunset to show that it's like the morning in this cover part. So yeah, we want to make sure we do a background, and we want to make sure that even if we don't have Sharpie markers available, we just go over our written parts so that it's really easy for our readers to read it. And then another thing that's really cool that you can do is try to show some motion. Here's a fun fact. The name for those teardrops or sweat drops or question marks or motion lines that show a character's feelings or movement are called emanata. And actually that reminds me, I feel like one thing I should do here is draw the Z's again. Alright, that is it. I cannot wait to see the comics that you make. Bye, thanks for watching.